What's up, everyone? Welcome back to C&D Sports. We've got an MLB postseason preview for you today. Obviously, the divisional series is wrapped up since we last talked about MLB baseball. We're in the midst of the championship series right now for both leagues. A lot of baseball going on, a lot of action to break down. So let's start in the ALDS here.
Yes.
And as a whole, the American League, I was telling you before we started filming, it's really hard to break down exactly what's going. I feel the National League's easier to explain. The American League is just kind of chaos at this point. It's just wild.
Yeah, it is really chaotic. A lot of scandals, which we'll get to, but
Yeah.
Boston taking out Tampa Bay, a huge surprise.
Yeah.
The best team in the AL, a team we both poised to go a whole lot deeper. And not only did Boston take out Tampa, they beat New York in that wild card game.
We didn't have them beat. Both of us didn't have Boston beating New York.
Yeah, so they definitely pulled up. Where I felt I went wrong in picking New York is they weren't going into the playoffs strong, whereas Boston was.
And Garrett Cole wasn't going in strong either. I mean, to be honest, his counterpart, Nate Eovaldi, kind of got hit around his last start as well. But Garrett Cole had kind of really struggled since the foreign substance issue came to light.
Stanton was the only Yankee to show up anyways.
He was still Garrett Cole, so you did kind of expect him to shine in moments like these, and he didn't. So, but Boston against Tampa was, after watching that first game, I thought, okay, just like we said, Tampa's just going to run right through them.
Yeah.
And that was not the case. I found Tampa struggled to consistently put runs together. As you saw, I believe it was game 2, they put up 5 runs in the first inning, and then they just didn't really score all that much afterwards. I felt that the bullpen didn't look as dominant as we thought it would, as there was guys like Luis Patino, JT Chargois, who would look good coming into the postseason. They were guys that, just off the top of my head right now, they were the ones that were 2 guys that gave up runs in key spots in close games. And I felt like there was a lot of reliance on postseason magic for Tampa. Last year it was Randy Arozarena having his historic postseason, and Randy Arozarena had a decent showing this postseason. Certainly not a bad performance, but I just felt that they felt that everything had to go right for them, and they were banking on that. And Boston's offense just showed up. Kike Hernandez and Rafi Devers were 2 of the biggest contributors in that series.
Along with that, Tampa just didn't look prepared.
No, and there's going to be a lot of questions for Tampa Bay now, whether or not this 100% analytical approach that they're taking, which I like. I'm a big analytics guy. I like the way that Tampa Bay has built their team into a frugal juggernaut almost. But I think there's going to be questions with Kevin Cash's future and just management's future of, is this going to be something that is going to reward Tampa Bay, who as a franchise is struggling too with relocation and they can't seem to put fans in stands. How's that all going to change if new ownership comes in and they do have that dual team with Montreal, or they do move somewhere else? Is ownership going to want to switch that up? And kind of go for the more traditional approach? We'll see.
Yep. Now Houston takes out Chicago.
Yeah.
And that's a big one for you, as that's your finalist and Tampa was mine.
Yeah, I had Chicago obviously beating San Francisco. You had Tampa beating San Francisco. We'll get to San Francisco.
I had San Francisco beating Tampa.
You had San Francisco beating Tampa, sorry.
Anyways,
Houston just showed that they were they're the best offense in the American League. That's what they were in the regular season, and it just really carried over here. I felt the White Sox, it was also paired with the White Sox hitters not being entirely consistent. Yasmani Grandal was really cold. Yohan Moncada are probably the two biggest hitters that didn't really string it together this series. There were certain games where you expected more out of Jose Abreu. I felt the rotation wasn't... I anticipated on that rotation being nasty with the likes of Lance Lynn, Carlos Rodon, Lucas Giolito, and it just wasn't. Rodon didn't pitch well, Lynn didn't pitch well, Giolito didn't pitch well in their starts, which puts a lot of strain on that very good bullpen, who I thought the bullpen was okay. Even Liam Hendricks, though, gave up, I believe it was game 1. He had a rough outing there. But Houston just showed, again, they're the best offense in baseball. Great series for Kyle Tucker. He kind of looked like If there was a divisional series MVP, I would have given it to Kyle Tucker. Lance McCullers looked like the only ace in this series, which is something you need. Obviously, there needs to be strength on the bullpen and the depth when it comes to the playoffs, but you do need at least one starter to really anchor a rotation, and Lance McCullers was that guy.
Yep, and this leads to a cheater's grudge match between Houston and Boston in the ALCS.
And no one has proof, definitive proof, nothing like that they're still cheating. But whenever you have two teams that have been investigated in the past, there's always going to be conversation about it. Obviously, we're not going to get into that conversation because, again, there's no proof to say that either of these teams are cheating, as we know right now.
But there are talks.
There are talks. Of course, Ryan Tepera brought it up in that Chicago series, to which Dusty Baker had his very witty response of, I didn't know who Ryan Tepera was until this series. So I don't suspect. I mean, I can't really say that there's cheating going on. But it's always going to raise eyebrows when
we'll
Houston
see.
and Boston.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, so
let's talk baseball here.
Yeah, let's talk baseball. It's been a great ALCS series so far. As we film on Thursday evening right now, Houston is up 3-2 on Boston. Both of these offenses have showed up. It has not been the pitching that has won games. It has been the offenses. Kyle Tucker, he continued to stay hot from his divisional series. Obviously, if Houston wins and they had to pick an ALCS MVP, it's likely going to be Jose Altuve, in my opinion. He's just been spectacular. But you pair that with Boston too. Boston is a team that I was expecting when we filmed this video that they were going to be up 3-2. And I kind of had to go back and kind of switch things up based on the game last night. But overall, Kike Hernandez, Rafi Devers, JD Martinez, they've all showed up, but Houston's offense has just been better. And once again, on either side, pitching has not been the forefront in this series. It's just going to be, who's going to continue in the final potentially two games, who's going to continue to be the better offense. And, right now, obviously Houston has that advantage. We'll see if Boston's big guys can bounce back here.
Yep, and now we move on to the NLDS, and LA so far has done what they should. They
beat the Cardinals
in the wild card game, and they take out San Francisco in a long 5-game series. A great series, probably the best baseball to this point.
I enjoyed watching that series, but everything that we broke down in our San Francisco video, I encourage you to go check that out. We break down the regular season success. It didn't really show up in the postseason, as they had such a dynamic offense that was top 5 in basically all major offensive team categories. Their highest run total was a 4-0 win, so 4 runs in game 1. And then after that, they didn't have more than 2 runs in a game. So when you're playing a team like Los Angeles, who, despite the fact that they were missing Max Muncy, despite the fact that Justin Turner was kind of cold this series and Cody Bellinger was coming into this series cold, so there was it looked like a different Dodgers team than we've been used to. They're still the Dodgers. They can still put up runs. They've got great pitching too, as pitching was great in this series, minus the 2 starts from San Francisco's Kevin Gausman, Anthony DeSclafani. Other than that, on both sides, pitching was great. The bullpens were great. And at the end of the day, the 105-win team beat the 106-win team. So that's what happens. You can't really call it an upset because they were the 2 best teams in baseball.
It's a shame it happened so early, but it's like how Vegas beat Colorado in last year's NHL playoffs. It happens when you have 2 dominant teams play each other. Someone has to win.
Exactly.
And the better team won. Then Atlanta takes out Milwaukee convincingly, I would say.
It was pretty convincing, other than that, game 1 win off that Rowdy Tellez 2-run home run for Milwaukee. Atlanta just dominated, and it was really not necessarily because of the hitting. It was just on both sides. Pitching was great. A lot of shutouts, a lot of low-scoring games. A 5-4 game 4 was the highest run total this entire series for both teams. So, yeah, I liked Max Fried this series. If there had to be an NLDS MVP for this series, it would have been Max Fried. And he continues to carry that over into the CS, and we'll talk about that in just a sec. But overall, Milwaukee's offense underwhelmed me. Atlanta did enough to get the job done. But, when a Rowdy Tellez 2-run home run is the only thing that got you a win, you really need to go back and reevaluate the offense there, because it did underperform for a team that maybe wasn't known for its offense coming into it. They were primarily known for guys like Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns. But the offense is better than that when you have guys like Christian Yelich in that lineup, Lorenzo Cain, the list goes on. They have very capable hitters. They just didn't show up, and that happens from time to time, but a disappointing series for Milwaukee, a good win for Atlanta.
Yep, now let's move on to the NLCS, and we have Atlanta and LA.
Yeah, this has been a very exciting series. Obviously, Atlanta walking off the first 2 games, the Dodgers making that miraculous comeback in Game 3 in the 8th inning. So it's just been 2 great offenses have met, and not necessarily meeting to really run up the scoreboard. Obviously, Atlanta scored 9 runs the last game, but there's been a lot. It's been exciting with the fact that they've been hitting situationally, and that's been evident by the walk-off wins. So a lot of late game heroics, and it comes down to it. Alex Anthopoulos knows how to put a team together. When Ronald Acuna went out, a lot of people probably wrote off the Atlanta Braves.
It's quite reasonable to do so.
But they rebuilt their entire outfield, bringing in Jock Peterson, Jorge Soler, Duvall, and Eddie Rosario, who Eddie Rosario has been the NLCS MVP for sure, him or Jock Peterson. So Minter to Matzik to Jackson to Smith has been a brilliant back end. So the Braves have just been putting it all together and just playing good baseball, despite the fact that Cody Bellinger has kind of woken up and has really made up for the fact that Max Muncy's not there, and he's going to have to continue that now that Justin Turner could be out after his injury last night. And that really just adds to the loss of Max Muncy, who's been the heart and soul of that offense, really the anchor man there. That's probably going to continue to hurt them. And I know Atlanta's been here before. They were here last year. They had a strong lead against the Dodgers, and the Dodgers came back. So obviously Atlanta can't, they can't start thinking of the World Series now. They do have to take care of business tonight.
Against one of the best teams in baseball, but by the time this airs, we have no idea whether this is going to be a series, because if LA gets the win tonight, they're right back in it. But obviously Atlanta
still has the upper hand going back, playing 2 games in Atlanta, so they're in a good spot, but I think they want to take care of business tonight.
They have to. I mean, the last one's the hardest to get. You have 3 chances. We'll see how it goes now. What does LA need to do to get back into it?
LA just has to rely on their pitching, I guess. They do have a good rotation with Max Scherzer. Julio Urias wasn't great, but you expect him, if they do push it to 6-7 games, that he'll be available. Walker Buehler, obviously, he's going to have a start in there if they can push this series onwards. So it really comes down to the pitching. I've been a little disappointed with the bullpen for them. Kenley Jansen obviously gave up some runs there in their walk-off wins. They just need to tighten it up pitching-wise, because Atlanta's bats are starting to come alive after that really just dead series against Milwaukee. So I think it came down to it where I want to say the Dodgers didn't anticipate Atlanta hitting this well based off last series, and I think the Dodgers thought that they would wake up a bit more, and they haven't necessarily. They've woken up a bit. The Dodgers have made games very competitive, but I don't think the Dodgers are necessarily hitting to what they should look like on paper. With that, that'll do it for our MLB postseason update here. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, give it a like down below. Subscribe so you don't miss any of our other uploads. Comment down below what you've thought of the postseason so far, who you think's going to make the World Series here. Give us your predictions below. Give us your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.